And David, it is like the Trump slump. I don't know. Is that some slogan now? It sounds like it. I guess it rhymes. That does not seem to be working when it comes to these governors blaming.
No, and I know you threw cold water on that Atlanta Fed prediction that we're going to grow at 4.6, but even if it's half of that, that's not a slump. I'm sorry, but that ain't a slump. How does a guy like Pritzker, let alone Newsom, how do they keep their jobs? I mean, I really don't understand. He's been in since 2019. I guess he came into power in 2019, but he's increased the budget $16.7 billion out of a $55 billion budget. I didn't go in my percent calculator, but that's a huge increase of money you don't have. I mean, granted, the folks inside the Beltway should be the first of our agenda of politicians we don't like. But these guys are just extraordinary. The blue state governors, let alone the blue state mayors, that's a whole other story with sanctuary cities and everything. But the electorate in this country has to wake up. It starts with your home state. It starts with your city where you live. Politics is local. These people shouldn't have their jobs.
Jackie, is blame shifting just a bankrupt strategy at this moment in time?
1,000%. This is a blue city problem, and I like to use the microcosm that I call home. New York City is a perfect example, similar to what they're dealing with in Chicago and Illinois. We've got a situation in New York City where $14 billion of tax revenue has left. Why? Because they want more money from the people who actually work to give it to the people who don't, or the people who are here illegally. And the services and the quality of life in the city has gone down. Now, I will say, caveat, slowly I'm starting to see that shift and change just a little bit. And also we're seeing some of those COVID trends change where people maybe moved to Florida and now they're coming back. It might even out a little bit. But at the end of the day, what you're left with, and this is what I worry about when we were talking about the commercial real estate. You weren't here, Lou was with us, but with commercial real estate, Brian, is that no matter what happens, even if you keep the real estate, he was talking about asset prices, right? Even if you keep the market afloat, asset prices are going to be dependent on what the demand is for people to want to live there. If you're converting all this office space into residential space or hotel space, and if the quality of life goes down and the services go down and it's dangerous to live here, people are not going to want to come here. If those facilities stay empty, then you start having a problem after they're converted, right? So these are the things that I think about, but I'm also thinking about the mayor's race, for example, and saying, well, the $14 billion in capital tax revenue that left, those people would have voted for a more conservative mayor. And who do we have left? The people who have their hands out, who won't even vote for Mayor Adams or Cuomo, but they'll probably go for the more extreme option, which is really scary.
And that's what people observed with Zeldin running for governor. I mean, the margins he was losing by were not big, and a lot of people said it's the folks who took off for Florida. You know, the guy in that clip we showed, Jerry, couldn't believe that Republicans still had an 8-point lead on the economy. Now, I know you've been a little critical at times of the tariffs and, the speed at which we're getting the tax cuts.
What I've been most critical about is spending. But does it surprise you that
Republicans are still up by 8 on the economy?
No. I mean, to Jackie's point, inflation is not at 9.2% as it was under Biden. We've got growth in the economy. We're going to get better growth with this bill because of the tax cuts. Can you imagine if these tax cuts did not happen? If for some reason we fumble the ball and we don't renew those tax cuts, I don't care. Anybody in office is going to lose their job. People are going to be so upset. So, no, I'm not surprised. And I'm glad to see it, frankly, because maybe that means economic education is taking hold.
Right.
Right? Could it be?
Well, you bring up economic. This kind of comes back to how we vote and what we're voting on. And I think Trump and a lot of people on the right, and certainly all of us, sat here and we absolutely knew that the economy was the #1 issue. And inflation was the #1 issue when we went to the ballot. And immigration and getting control of our cities felt like a #1 issue. I have a lot of friends on the left, and they are still, you asked how are these people still in power, and I come from a Gavin Newsom state. They're in power because my friends on the left still are not voting on the economy. They are voting on gun rights, taking them away. They're voting on trans rights. They're voting on we still hate Trump no matter what. They're voting on I want pro-illegal immigration and let's give them everything. They're voting on pro-Gaza, pro-Hamas. They're voting on it's not inflation, it's corporate greed. And they're voting on I still want men and women's sports because everything has to be fair and there are no blurred lines. So I think common sense, I think, well, we're still voting on the economy. And the poll in that clip, Brian, I think showed that for the economy, which is the issue right now, that's how people vote. But a lot of my friends on the left, that's not what they're thinking about. And which is why they're not winning elections. But that's how they're voting.
But the state, there's one thing that they're coming up against, which is a brick wall. The state is going broke right now.
Yes.
Medi-Cal, I'm talking about California right now. Medi-Cal, Newsom wants a $6 billion bailout for his funding of illegal migrants who are getting Medicaid. And he doesn't, they don't have the money. Do you think Donald Trump's going to give him a $6 billion bailout for his wild Medicaid spending? I don't think so.
No. And you know, a lot of those issues you just raised about why your liberal friends are voting for they're voting for, those are 80-20 issues that they're on the wrong side of right now, which is why their party is in such disarray. And their biggest problem is people just aren't getting afraid as Democrats need them to. The guy in that clip says, how is it possible after all the recession fears that this could be true? And the answer is because most people don't want to live on constant fear.